My intention here is not to motivate or demotivate anybody, just that I have not touched this topic for a long time and I keep getting questions again and again about this. So here I am only saying things as they are. So there are different types of immigrants who come to the US from India, and I'm going to briefly touch base on the issues faced by each category. So the first category is of people who come to the US through family. One can get married to an American citizen, or your parents' siblings could be in the US who filed for green card, let's say 30-40 years ago, and now you have finally got through, and then you come to the US, and there are several other ways like that. So this video is not about such people. They may have challenges, but they are entirely different set of challenges. But this video is about the immigration related issues that people face. When it comes to people who come to the US based on family-based green cards, their success in this country entirely depends on their education and skills. But they usually do not have to struggle with any immigration related issues. So let us go ahead and consider other categories. The second category people are those who come to the US with their families where the children were born in India and now they have got some work assignment and then they come to US to work for a few years. And this is the category of people where no green card has been filed, just that they are here to spend a few years and then they go back. So a major challenge faced by such people is when they come to the US with their young children and then they start their schooling in the US, and then they have to leave all that and go back to India and adjust again to the entirely different education curriculum. In case of these people, no green card has been filed. Therefore, at max, they can actually spend just about 6 years and then they have to go back. In fact, I know of a case in Cleveland, Ohio, where this person came to the US when his son was in grade 1 or class 1. And then after 6 years, when his son was in grade 7 or class 7, he could not get the company to file for his green card, so he was to go back, right? And this person was an employee of an Indian IT company and was working on a contract basis at an American client. And then he pleaded with the American client to file for his green card and they refused to do so. Therefore, he had to go back, and his son faced numerous challenges when he had to go back and adjust to the new schooling system all over again. The third category is very painful. These are the people who come with young children who are born in India and then they come to the US for work. And what happens in their cases is that they apply for green card and the green card does not come through on time. Now, your family, especially your children, can stay dependent on your visa as long as they are younger than 21 years of age. Once they cross the 21-year mark, they have to leave the country and come back on their own visa. So it is kind of self-deportation, not in a true sense because they are not deported per se, but they are being asked to go and then get a visa of their own, and they are no longer dependent on their parents' visa. This problem is commonly known as aging out, because you age out after 21 years of age and then you have to get your own visa and you need to start the whole process on your own all over again. Your parents have been waiting already for many years and now you have to start the entire journey from scratch. And this case can be painful because an American visa is not guaranteed. Most likely these people are students in America. Usually they are college age students and therefore they have to leave America in the middle of their college career and get a visa on their own and come back again. In many cases, usually the visa gets approved, and I know of one case where they could do it from the US itself. But then they eventually have to leave the country and get their passport stamped with a new visa without doubt. The fourth category is of people who come to the US to work, but they don't have any children at that time. And then once they conceive their children in US, their children are by default American citizens. In their case, children's immigration is not an issue at all, but their own immigration is an issue. If parents must go back, in fact, last year there were numerous cases where parents had to go back to India to get their visa stamped, and they took their children along with them, and in some other cases they left their children behind with some caretakers and they could not get their visa on time, so they had to stay for extended periods of time. In case of those people whose children were with them, they were missing all their school in the US. And in other cases, it was very painful when their children were left behind in the country with some caretakers, usually some neighbors or family members or friends. and the parents were away from their children for a long time. And in cases where parents' visa gets declined later, they must come back to the US, get their children and take them back again. Although these young children, when they grow up, can easily come back to the US because they're American citizens, but the parents still have to sponsor their education, right? They may not have visa hassles, but who is going to pay for their education? Obviously, the parents who are now earning in Indian rupees have to sponsor their children's education in dollars. Usually, this is not as bad because they had already worked in the US for a while, and a lot of other people whose parents have never been to the US come as students anyway. So more or less, these children are at an advantage because they come to the US for studies later when they grow up, but they never have to go through immigration hassles. So these are the kids who have one problem less to worry about. Now it is important to note that it is a misunderstanding that US born children can sponsor a green card for their parents. They can, but they have to be at least 21 years of age, and not just that, they have to earn sufficiently high enough where they can show that they can support themselves and their parents as well. Only when they are financially strong enough to support themselves and their parents can they sponsor their parents' green card. In many cases, that can happen only when about the children are around 30 years of age. It can be a bit sooner, but it is not going to happen in near future just because a child turned 21, they sponsor their parents' green card. In fact, when children are ready to sponsor their parents' green card, the parents have already retired or are approaching retirement. Fifth category is the category of spouses who are married to H1B visa holders and are in the US on a dependent visa, which is H4 visa. Now, Obama administration passed a legislation, actually they passed an executive order, not a legislation I think, where they allowed the spouses of H1B visa holders to find employment, but then Trump administration tried to stop it. Now I think that issue is in court. An immigration lawyer will be better able to tell more about it, but based on my understanding, the problem here comes when a spouse of an H1B visa holder wants to find a job, but the job has to be more or less in the same location as their spouse, right? Because you want to stay together. You might have issues when the H1B visa holder is in one location and their spouse finds job in another location. Getting your visa stamped could be an issue, but I cannot talk more about it. An immigration attorney will be more able to discuss these things. Now the sixth category is my favorite category of people, are the students who come to the US for studies. Their struggles are entirely different, and in many cases their struggles are even greater. See, the people who come directly for work, the moment they step in the US, within a few days they start getting salaries, right? But students do not have that luxury. They have to usually live in limited means. I know because I have been there myself. And then once they graduate, they have to compete for that H1B visa slots with those people who are already working and are not even in the US at the moment. Yes, they have 20,000 visas more, but it is a very small amount in comparison to the number of people who come to study. And unfortunate or fortunate, depending on who you are, a fact is that H1B visa lottery system does not give you any credit just because you are an MIT graduate, let's say. Currently, as it stands, it does not care about your talent and capabilities. Unfortunately or fortunately, an MIT graduate and another graduate from some unknown college have the same chance to get picked up in the H1B visa lottery. Their probability is still the same. But the real challenge for students is when they start looking for jobs. And it is much harder for them to stand out if they do not have prior work experience. And therefore, they usually struggle even more. And while they already do not have much money, the time is ticking for them. If you do not get a job within 60 days after your graduation, if I'm not wrong, it is 60 days, you have to pack your bags and leave. All your investment on your education can go down the drain. But student life also gives you many advantages. It allows you to make mistakes and learn from them while you are still assimilating into this new society. After all, there was a reason you came to America, right? And the reason was for most part to pursue opportunities and the lifestyle. But if your country of birth is India, unfortunately, unless there is a major breakthrough and a bipartisan law is passed with an agreement between Democrats and Republicans, the chances for getting a green card, the future looks bleak at the moment. The situation as it stands there is really no hope for green card, and therefore no hope for settling properly in this country. So the only bit of hope is for those who are working in a highly specialized and not-for-profit organizations such as doctors and professors in universities. If you have a high-level degree such as PhD in a very specialized field and in demand fields such as artificial intelligence, then you might stand a good chance. So you must have a specialized high-level degree, and you must be working at a not-for-profit organization to brighten your chances. And did I mention the worst thing? The worst thing is when people are looking for an employment and they are unable to find one, and then they are forced to go to these desi consultancies. There are layers of middlemen who eat up your salary, and these desi consultancies are notorious for violating visa rules. I'm not the right person to talk too much about it because other people who have gone through that can talk better. And there are several videos on YouTube that you can find about desi consultancies and the kind of wrong things that they do. So what is the best way forward? In my view, it is best that you recognize that such challenges and problems exist. You must be well aware of these issues and challenges. If you have not even come to the US yet, you must know what all you need to expect. Now, do not get me wrong, people do come here, they do well in school, and then they get great jobs at great companies like Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, and so on. But these are very few people who succeed like that. They are a very small proportion of all the people who come here. So it is very important to not to get carried away by what all people post on social media such as Instagram or Facebook. People only show their best. Nobody posts the real story of their struggles. Because remember, what is the true intention of H1B visa? It is a bonded labor contract between an employer and an employee. It is simply a contract-based temporary permit to work in this country, where the company says that they are unable to find local talent and therefore they are forced to seek talent outside of this country. A weird analogy would be, let's say you have broken pipes in your home and you are not able to repair those pipes. What do? You call a plumber, right? And then the plumber comes and realizes that it will take a while to work through this pipe. And if the plumber takes 6 days to repair the pipe, the plumber will have to leave your home, right? The plumber cannot continue to stay. Unfortunately, H1B visa has become something like that. It is just a short-term temporary work permit. The problem that is being faced by people from countries such as India, China, Philippines, and some other countries is that so many people are seeking employment-based green cards, but the limit on each country is just about 7% of all employment-based green cards. So only a few thousand people can get their green card every year. And then those people who applied after them will have to wait in a long line. A person born in India who applies for green card today, the only hope of getting a green card without any major breakthrough in immigration laws is when all the people who are already waiting on their green card withdraw their applications, and only then this person has any chance of getting a green card. And well, let's be realistic, that is not happening. So the best way forward is to be well aware of these issues and just take it easy. Just do not take your life for granted and be financially prudent. And if you have children here, just make sure that they are aware of their cultural heritage and background, so that if they are to go back, they do not have to struggle so much to assimilate in India back again. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind and God bless America.